think we're ready to kick off now. We've got a lot of you on the call now, so let me just get onto the correct screen and hopefully everyone will be able to see it. Right, you should be able to see my screen now. We're on the HandsHQ system at the moment. As I said, any questions throughout, feel free to pop those into the chat or the Q&A. Arena's on hand today to help answer any of those questions from a sort of a product related side. I will also be able to help as well with my knowledge, but Arena's got so much more than myself. Any questions that we might not be able to get through, then we will do that towards the end, or we'll give you a sort of a follow-up with either an email with some sort of FAQ, some of the outstanding questions, or we'll follow up with you all personally as well. But yeah, let's jump straight into it, and feel free to fire any questions through as and when you have any. Perfect. So this is HandsHQ. HandsHQ, we are, just to give you a bit of the background about us, we've been around now for about 8 or 9 years. We are a purpose-built software for the generation and management of risk assessments and method statements, construction phase plans you can do through our system. We've also got COSHH features, digital signatures features within the system, which I'll be showing you. We do also have another side to our system, which is our training register as well, which is a replacement for your sort of Excel spreadsheets for your training matrix. That's going to be a webinar that we do next week. I think it's next week. So yeah, feel free to sign up for that one as well. I'll touch upon it very briefly today, but we'll be going into a lot more detail next week. So HandsHQ is a web-based, cloud-based platform. So it essentially means that providing you've got an internet connection, you can log into the system, write any RAMs, update your documents as well, sign them off, management of your risk assessments and method statements or your CPPs. You can access through a multitude of different devices as well. You know, desktop, laptop if you're in the office, or if you're out on site on your tablet. You can also read, review, sign off on RAMs on your phone. So your engineers, Vicky, your question earlier about getting them out to the team. When a document is being completed and created, you can distribute it out and your engineers can have that RAMS document on their phone, which they can sign off on. So it's almost like they've always got a digital copy in their pocket to access at all times. Great. So on our first page here, when you log into HandsHQ, you come to our projects page. This is where all of our risk assessments and method statements or CPPs that we've created for certain jobs will live. So we can obviously see our color coding down on the left-hand side. Anything green means that that's a project, a RAMS document, which is currently live. So our M&E job at South Kensington is currently live. Anything orange or yellow essentially means that that's a project with a future start date. So we don't actually start this job until for another 2 weeks time. And then anything gray means that that project is now finished. We've got our project name, client details, reference numbers, when that document was last updated. With our risk register as well, you can actually sort of proactively manage and update individual risk assessments, and it's going to give us a sort of tag here to say whether they're up to date or not. We can also create an approval process, which I'll be showing you later. If you are doing a lot of maybe sort of maintenance work or jobs which are very similar to one another, but you still have to create a site-specific RAMS each time, you do have the ability to duplicate a RAMS document. But you can always go in, obviously make those site-specific changes to ensure that it sort of ticks all the requirements that it needs to for your project at hand. But last thing to show you on this page, for much larger businesses, we do have the ability to split HandsHQ up into different divisions. So as you can see here, we've got a drop-down menu here. We've got a CPP division here as well, so you can actually create CPPs. So all your sort of CDM info that you need to fill out is within that section there. But also, you know, if you split the system up into sort of divisions by task or by region, then each of those can have their own content within inside the divisions. Also, you can restrict what users can access, what information, what divisions as well. So you can really split it out however really you need to. But let's jump in and create our first document. So what we'll do first is hit the new project button up in the top right. The first step that we come to is our project's details. Now, this is pretty straightforward. It's literally just going through and sort of filling in the blanks at this point. So we are essentially just adding in the information about our project. So we can see here our project name, reference numbers, start and end dates of our project, client details as well. We've also got the ability to add our locations of work also. One thing that is worthwhile bearing in mind is obviously for the purposes of the webinar today, I'm doing a very sort of generalized demo. I appreciate there's a lot of different industries who are joining today. So we do have the ability to customize on some of our sort of larger enterprise, more custom packages. We can customize some of the text in here as well to really fit the brief of what you would need as part of your documentation. But yeah, very straightforward at this point. It's literally just filling in the blanks, adding that project details information that we need. Once we've done that, we can then hit next again, and we come through to our next step of the process, which is our risk assessment library. Now, essentially, this is where you're going to see a huge sort of increase in quality, but also consistency of your documentation as well. You've got access to this full HandsHQ library as standard. However, if your work is very sort of bespoke to you, or there's information that you feel is missing, we can do a full bespoke sort of onboarding process for you, where we take all of your content, your risk assessment library that you might have at the moment, and actually pull that into the system, categorize your info, rationalize the content as well. So you've got a full bespoke library based on the tasks and jobs that you do as a business. But essentially what we're asking for at this point is for the user, whether that be health and safety, project managers, site managers, engineers, actually to start considering the hazards that are on site and build that sort of overall risk profile. So we're in the general category. Let's go down and go for arrival and departure from site to start with. So we select arrival and departure from site as our first hazard that we've identified. We can then go into edit. And essentially what that's going to do is it's going to pull up all of our associated risk assessments for arrival and departure from site. We can actually go ahead now and make these site specific. So this is the reason why you get that sort of consistency at this point, is because everyone is starting with the same sort of content, the same information, same starting place. It's that sort of almost given 95% of the content. It's that final 5% of information that makes it site specific that you need to add. So it stops your teams or yourself having to find those old documents, those old RAMs that you've created, copy and pasting the information in, passing it over, and risk actually having mistakes in there, whether that be, you know, the old address for the project or whatever that may be. But if you've got the standard information in here, it's just about adding that site specific and actually being able to spend the time on the content itself. So from here, to make this site specific, what we can do is electric short from overhead cables. If we deem actually this isn't applicable for our site, then we can deselect it and it won't show up in our final document. As we go down below, cross before and load, yes, this has the potential to happen on our site. So we can leave this selected. We can then go into edit. And this is actually where we can make it more specific to our site. So we can say, yeah, it's a 2-ton pallet on Smith Street. We can then also change our 5x5 risk matrix, which you've got access to here. We've also got our control measures, which you can update. You can take any of that information away if you wanted, if it's not specific to your site or it's not required, and also add any information in. And then you've got your 5x5 grid, once again, our residual risk. We could also change our persons at risk down below with the list if we needed to. So once we felt as if we've made this specific to our site, we can then update. We can move back to the library and essentially go through and add more relevant tasks or hazards that are applicable to the job that we're doing. So as we go down, you can see just how much sort of information is in here. You would, as standard, get access to all of this information, but as I said, we can create and build for you based on your content, that bespoke library.
Mason, sorry, there was a request to make your screen a bit larger. Could you maybe zoom in a little bit?
I can. Oh, bit too much there. I don't think I am able to. Is it? Hopefully everyone's able to see. Maybe if you're able to zoom in on your end, if possible. Hopefully that'll work. If not, we can send the recording out after. Perfect. So once we've added in our different tasks that we're doing, we can then move through to our next step. Our next step of the process is where we come to our sequence of operations. Now, essentially what the system has done is the system has understood the tasks or the risks that we've selected on our previous step and has pulled through a bunch of our sort of safe sequence of works. So the way that we would like our team out on site to go about completing the job in the safest way. So we selected electrical, therefore it's pulling through different tasks within the sort of electrical realm, if you like. So we've selected to say that we're installing lighting. As a result, it pulls through the standard sequence. You've got the ability once again to make this site specific, add any information in that you need. You can deselect any of the fields, drag and drop the sequence around. You've also got the ability to add any images too. So this being able to add images is great, just in case you do have any form of sort of language barriers on site. You can always add your images in and make it a bit more of a pictorial RAMS document, a pictorial sequence as well. But yeah, as you can see, very straightforward. Just select the job that you're doing, and that's going to be the sort of standard sequence you like the team to follow. Exactly the same as the last step. We can actually, if you have any sort of bespoke sequences that you follow, we can add those in to your profile as well. So once we've done this, we can then hit next down at the bottom, which will bring us through to our final step of the process, which is the main bulk of our method statement. Now, as we go through all of these fields that you see here, once again on our sort of customized packages, you've got the ability to change and update these fields really to match the information and method statements you're generating at the moment. You've got the ability to jump into any of these fields and also add any information that you need to. You've got the ability to add images too. So once again, making a very pictorial method statement. So here we've got an image of the map to the nearest hospital, for example. So it's really straightforward to be able to add that information in that you need to. As we come off the back of the method statement itself, we then come to our hazardous substances. So we can select our icons. I'll show you how we can add a COSHH assessment in a moment as well. Then we've also got our PPE requirements too. So as standard, I think we've got our 5 points of PPE selected here. You can add your specific PPE requirements. So if you've got a special type of boot, then you can add those in and images of them as well if you needed to. So then we can select next, and believe it or not, that's us done. We've now created our risk assessment, sequence operation, and our method statement. So our RAMS document has been created at this point. There's a few features that I want to show you now as to the sort of management of the document, but I'm sure we've got a few questions. Is there any questions at all?
Yes, Mason. There was a good question from Bridget. Thanks, Bridget. So the question was, if we have a 505 risk matrix, or can we use like a high, medium, low, or 3x3? So yeah, we have a range of customization available, and yeah, we can adjust whatever you are using at the moment so that it fits to your organization. So it can be both 5 to 5, 3 to 3, high, medium, low, and can be different ways.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Is there anything else at all, or have the majority of them been able to be answered in the chat? Any questions, feel free to fire them in now. We've got we can wait for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds now just to answer a few questions.
Sure. There was another question from Caroline. Thanks, Caroline. So the question is whether this is a UK-based system and whether we have any other languages available. Would you like to answer that one, Mason?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so at the moment, yes, it is just sort of English in terms of the language on here. We don't have the ability to translate into other languages at the moment. I think for anyone that does, any of our customers that does, they do rely on Google Translate. But in terms of the actual, in terms of, using that, it's going to have to be through Google Translate. There's a lot of updating content. So if you were to update a new risk assessment, for example, then you would obviously have to do that and translate into a lot of different languages. So yeah, at the moment, it's just purely sort of English at the moment. Perfect. Yeah. Just seen a few questions about looking at the sequence operations. Yeah, I'll show you that on the final document when it's created. You'll be able to see that. Does it include a sign-off sheet? Yes, it does. I'll jump onto that in a moment. We've got a full signature feature and process, which actually is going to go one step further than just a standard sign-off sheet. But Mike, you mentioned about the sequence operations. What I want to show you is actually really good to show everyone. our documents, when they're created, are live documents, which essentially mean that if the job changes ever so slightly, your client asks for the job to change or the environment changes, you can always jump back into the risk assessment, sequence operation, or the method statement at any point and actually add brand new information. So this document is always evolving. So let's say if we wanted to go back onto our sequence operations, Mike, I'll just jump into this for you just so you can see again. Let's say we're going to be doing a new task now. So we're going to be installing a new distribution board, for example. So this is our sort of standard sequence. Let's make an edit to this. We want to drag and drop it around, deselect something that maybe isn't applicable. Once we've made that edit, we can then go to save and exit. We're then going to have this screen come up, which is the reason for editing. So we can just say we have updated sequence of operations. Then we can go to next. Now, what this is going to do in our activity tab, you can actually see how that document has changed over time. So who's created it, when it was created, and then who's updated it, the reasons for that update as well, which we can see here. So this is great for sort of auditing purposes. You've got that full activity log. You can see how that document's changed over time. We've also got the ability to download any old versions of that document as well. So touch wood that it doesn't happen, but if there was ever an incident on site, you can always jump back into this risk assessment and you can see the history of this document and actually show proof that changes had been made to control measures as well, for example. Great. So let me show you how we can add a COSHH assessment. I appreciate that. Well, one thing that we found with talking to so many different companies every month is that actually sometimes it's harder to create a use-specific COSHH assessment than it is a site-specific risk assessment, and often actually sometimes takes longer. So we wanted to make this process as easy as possible. We've got a shared library within HandsHQ that holds thousands and thousands of different substances, and essentially all you need to do is search for the substance that you're using. If the substance is missing, not within the system at the moment, you can just send us the SDS sheet and we can upload it for you. So let's search for mastic and we go for our firetherm. That's what we're going to be using on site. We can then go to edit. And it's essentially, once again, going to ask you you've got these blank boxes to fill in the information and just to make this use specific. So adding in the information that we need. So what's your quantity kept on site? How you're going to be using it? Your drop-down menu for length of exposure, where it's going to be used, and then it's actually going to pre-populate for us all of our first aid and PPE requirements based off the SDS sheet. So we can now update the document, obviously add any further substances that we need to. If not, we can move back to our project, and now our COSHH assessment has been added to the bottom of our document. So really straightforward, really easy to add that COSHH assessment rather than spending hours trying to sort of break apart an SDS document, which I understand and I know is always a frustration. Once again, that activity tab building up with changes and updates that we've made to our document. So obviously, I know one of the questions was about sort of distribution. How do we get the documents out to the team? So just before I show that, there's one step before that, which is actually getting approval. Now, this is internal approval process that we have. So the reason for this is actually being able to give the responsibility out of creating documents to a lot of engineers or teams out on site. I know that a lot of the time, health and safety almost want to sort of take control over the RAMS process because maybe those people out on site feel as if they don't have enough time or don't want to take that responsibility on themselves and are worried about generating that document. But with this internal approval process, it sort of gives you that sort of control and it's almost like that last line of defense to ensure that that quality is always there. So what would happen? Let's say a project manager has generated this RAMS. They can come here, choose who needs to approve that document, submit for approval. Me as the approver, I would then receive an email which says, Joe Bloggs has created M&E South Kensington RAMS. Could you please approve it? I would look through the document, preview the document, which I'll show you in a minute. And then hopefully would be saying, yes, best RAMS ever, every time. And then that RAMS document could be approved. And now your project manager or engineer, whoever that may have been, will then receive a notification through the system, or on the system they can see that actually that document has been approved internally and is ready to be sent out to the client and also sent out to all of the operatives to then sign off on the RAMS document. But let me show you how we do that. So We can add a personnel, which is very straightforward. You hit add personnel. Once you've added an individual to the system once, it's going to remember their details, and you can always add them as and when you need to. They're always going to be saved in the system once they've been added once. This is where as well you'll see the first integration with our training register, which I'll touch upon in a moment. We can see here that we've added Alan. Alan's electrical engineer, and we can actually see here the training status, whether they're valid for the project because their training is up to date, or in my example down here, actually training's missing. It's essentially giving us a red flag to say for the, they shouldn't really be going to site because the training's out of date at the moment. But what we can then go ahead and do is we can actually get signatures. So once we've added these engineers or these individuals, we've got our engineer and our contracts manager to the job, it will then send out an email to them. So it sent an email out to Alan, which we can see it's sent. Alan's then got the ability to open up the email on his phone, read through the RAMS document. It will then ask Alan to accept it. You can then turn it to the side and then sign off on the RAMS document actually on the phone. So not only do they have access to the RAMS on their phone all the time, they've also signed off on that, and we know it's them because it's been sent to their email. If, for example, you don't have an email address attached to their name, that's not a problem at all. You can actually jump onto the system, log into HandsHQ, find your name, and then go to sign now. What that's going to do is, first of all, it's going to show you the actual document that we've created. So all of that information that we've input throughout that process is now being pulled together to create our final document. So we can see here that we've got our logos. Obviously, you'd have your own sort of logo here, your own sort of branding, business information, revision number updates itself automatically as well. So as and when changes are made, that revision number is automatically going to update itself. We come on, start with our sequence operations. So our step-by-step guide as to how we're doing certain jobs. And then we come into our sort of main bulk of our method statement at this point. So you can see that our images get formatted for us as well. So once again, no need to spend time formatting or reformatting documents. The system will do the sort of heavy lifting for you. You can focus on the content, which is obviously the important part, and the system will do all the formatting for you. As we shoot off the back of the method statement, our 5x5 grid, you can see here, which gets explained to us, and then our risk assessments are laid out really quite nicely, easy to read. One thing that is worth mentioning, the length of the document really depends on how much you want to add into the RAMS document. We've got customers that want to create War and Peace, 100, 200 page document. We've got other customers that want to create a 10-page really punchy document. So it completely depends on how you want to manage your documents as to how long they are as well. So we can see our risk assessments, laid out really quite easy to read. They flow quite nicely. So I always like to think if it's the first time that someone's out on site and they're picking up and reading a RAMS document, is that easily understandable? And I think this format, yes, it is really easy to understand exactly what's going on at this point. As we shoot off the bottom, we can see here, this is our signature page that we're creating. So you do have the ability, if you didn't want to use our digital signature feature, which I'll show you in a second, you can just have a blank sign-off sheet that you can print off and individuals can sign it. You can always scan it back into the system and upload it as a PDF to the back of the document as well. And then you can see our COSHH assessment gets bolted onto the bottom of our document too. If you did want to have the SDS sheet on the back of the system, you can do that, that's no problem. But if you want to get rid of it, tick of a button and you can actually get rid of the actual document, the SDS as well. Some companies see it as a necessity, others see it as just padding to a document. So in this example, Alan has gone through the document, is happy with the risks, understands the risks, happy to get to work. So Alan can now select accept. What that's going to do, because we've actually logged in via the computer to sign next to our name, it's now going to take an image of the person that's signing that document. Hopefully the picture is going to be a little bit nicer than that one, but they can just then sign off like so. Really, that's you doing your due diligence, making sure you're getting the right people sign off on the right documents. I know how it is on construction sites. You often get one person sign off for everyone else. So that's just essentially going to stop that from happening. If there was ever an injury, a near miss incident on site, you can always jump back into the system and see the signature, see that image as well. So you've always got the sort of proof of that as and when you need it. So yeah, that's getting the document out to your team, your engineers, those out on the road. You do have the ability to actually email this straight out to your clients as well. So via the email tab up here, It's going to come from your email address because that's your login details. You can decide who you want to send it to, add your body of email, and then they can just download the RAMS document from here as well. You do also have the ability to select whether they want the training report. The training report is essentially all of the certification and training updates that you have of an individual. So all of that information can be pulled through and sent over to them as well. Depends with what they would need, and also if you've got access to the training register too. So yeah, really easy way. Works a little bit like WhatsApp. You can see when a document's been sent. You can see when it's been opened as well. So you've got full tracking of that document as and when you need to. Obviously, you can download document as well and preview, edit, always jump back into that document as and when you need to. But as you can see, the activity tab is now starting to build up, and we can see our individuals signing that document too. We'll jump on to some questions in a second, just to very quickly just show you the training register, which, as I said, this is something that we're going to be running through on our next webinar, I think, which is next week, which we can send the link around to everyone. Essentially just a very easy, straightforward way to be able to track and manage training, which also links in with the RAM side of the system too. So automatic notifications. You've also got the ability to hold certificates in here and download reports on different personnel. But perfect. I mean, that's a very quick run through of the HandsHQ system. Appreciate that it's been very sort of general in terms of what we've looked at. However, happy to give everyone a call over the next sort of day or two and discuss actually, is it a good fit for you and what the customization can be to ensure that actually it works for your industry and the works that you do. But yeah, it is worth mentioning, we have a vast sort of wide range of different industries of clients of ours, from construction, M&E, building services, FM, events, pyrotechnics, for TV and film. So loads and loads of different businesses this works for. But yeah, I think we've got some time to answer some questions. Irina, I don't know if there's any that stick out to you to answer at the moment at all.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions about whether our system works on phones, iPads, and yeah, other types of devices. So yeah, our system works on all various types of devices, and yeah, either it's an Android phone or iPhone or iPad, or so anything. We support all types of devices, so no worries about that.
Perfect. What we tend to say is the bigger the screen, the better. Obviously, you know what, through personal experience of going to a few of these sites, you know what some of the teams are like on construction sites. So bigger the screens, the better. Any other questions at all? Feel free to fire some questions in, and happy to answer just a few of those. As mentioned, you know, we will be giving everyone a call to answer any sort of outstanding questions that you might have that are very sort of bespoke to you as a business, or specific to you as a business. Happy to answer those, and also give everyone an idea on price. If you would like me to put you to the top of the list for the call, then let us know in the chat now, and we can give you a call within the next sort of hour or two, and get one of the team to give you a call, answer any questions that you have. So feel free to pop yes please into the chat, and we can make sure that we will get in touch with you. Mike, thanks for the message. Yes, we will be sending out a recording of this. This will be uploaded to YouTube, but we'll send out an email as well with the link, so feel free to share this around with the team. Thomas, thanks. Can it include company branding on the documents? Yes, so we can upload your logo onto the documents. The documents don't have anything written about HandsHQ on them, I don't think. So, but in terms of that, yes, on the documents, so when they get sent to your clients, it's got your branding on it. Gary, Derek, thanks for the message. Yes, of course, we can catch up with you. Any other questions before we go? I appreciate it. It's been it's Wednesday, so I know everyone's busy. Feel free to fire any questions in. Carl, yes, can it be used for multiple divisions, business units? Yes, of course it can. So up in the top left here, where you've got the drop-down menu, you've got the ability to jump into different divisions. You can have different business units. However you sort of best see this system working for you as a business, you can do that. Within each division as well, we can create slightly different workflows. So you can make sure that, you know, if it's you've got a construction division and an M&E division, only in construction you have construction related risk assessments and content, and then in the M&E section you've got only mechanical, electrical information in there as well. Is there a storage limit for documents? As far as I'm aware, no. So based on your packages that you have, there is a sort of limit in terms of sort of RAMS documents, like usage is the way that our packages work. However, you know, if that skyrockets, that's absolutely fine. That's no worries. You have you can store as many as you need to there as well. Bridget, thanks for the message. No worries at all. Any questions, feel free to get in touch. Just having a look through to see if there's any other questions at all. Feel free to, Caroline, do you provide a training matrix? Yes, we do. I can see a few people dropping off now, but if there's any last questions, happy to stay around for a few minutes and ask some of those. So now might be your chance to fire a question in. Thomas, can video clips be included? Unfortunately, not at the moment. Great suggestion, though. So we'll put that through to the team and see if that's something that we're going to be able to do in the future. We've got a few questions in the Q&A here. So what else have we got? Have you had HSE feedback from a site visit? As far as I'm aware, we've not. That's from Gary. Thanks for the question, Gary. As far as I'm aware, we've never really had any issues. We've had a lot of support from sort of like auditing bodies for 45001. One, I guess I can't name names, have said one of our customers gave them a gleaming report for their RAMS process after seeing HandsHQ, and would actually like it to be the sort of like industry standard and the way forward. They'd like to see a lot more companies moving forward and sort of being ahead of the curve, if you like. I think this is definitely the way that RAMS is going to be going, as most processes across businesses are going digital. So yeah, it's just a case of more people using it and being ahead of the curve. So yeah, some great response and feedback that we've had already. Any other questions at all? Can audit site forms be added? Thanks, Kevin, for the message. So at the end of a document, when you created a RAMS, you do have the ability to upload any additional PDFs, whether that would form in the case of maybe a certificate audit forms, if they're just a PDF document, or any sort of training certifications, insurances, you can add PDF documents onto the back of that. Vicky, can we have multiple login accounts? Yes. So each person, each individual that would need access to the system, they can have their own login details. That will almost leave the electronic footprint across the system too. So you can see who's changed what, who's updated what. So great for sort of auditing purposes within the system as well. Thomas, yes, of course, we can definitely arrange a call. I'll get in touch with you today to see if we can pop some time in. We do run sort of online one-to-one demos as well, so alongside the webinars that we do. So if you wanted to see the system, really exactly how it would work for you and how we can customize it for your industry and the work that you do, then we'll be in touch and we can always arrange a call, screen share to go through the system and some of the features in more sort of detail, more focus as well. Awesome. Any last questions? Feel free to fire those in. I think we have answered the majority of those, but any last ones, feel free to put them in. I'm just having a look through to see if there's anything that I've missed, but it looks like majority of that. Thanks very much, Vicky. We'll be in touch, and any other questions that you come up with in the meantime, which I'm sure you will do, then feel free to let me know. But yeah, as I said, recording will be sent round to the rest of the team. We'll also be sending over the recording as well. So yeah, feel free to share that about, and hopefully more eyes of everyone else in the business. Hopefully they'll start seeing that actually maybe using Word, Excel is not maybe the best use of time, but there's a better way of generating RAMS documents. Thanks, Elliot. Vicky, thanks very much. Finbar, thank you. Thanks for jumping on. Lynn, thank you as well. Great to see you on here today. Any last questions? I can still see there's quite a few of you in here, so it's making me think there might be a few last questions. If there is, I'll happy to stay around for another couple more minutes and answer those. If not, feel free to get on with your day. You don't need to hang around now. But once again, yeah, thanks very much, everyone. I'll be in touch and to answer any of your questions and hopefully be able to book some time in to look at the system in more detail. But yeah, training register webinar next week, so feel free to join that, and we will be able to go through that in some more detail as well to see if you want to digitalize and streamline the way that you track and manage training. Thanks very much, guys. See you soon. Have a great rest of the week, and hopefully we'll catch up soon or next week on our next webinar as well. See you later, everyone. Thanks for joining today.
Bye.